Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. My stream health is yellow. Not good. Setting stuff up here. And see what's up with my stream health. How's streaming for those of you in the room? Streaming okay? Good quality? Probably do stuff. This stream's alright. Alright, now that people are streaming in, basically what I'm going to do in this live cast is just kind of hang out, go through my new Sketch Toon Model Pack that I just released today. You can check it out at the, you can check it out at the eyedesyn store. And let me pull that back up again. Where'd that go? There we go. All right. Dang, switching monitors thing really throws me off. All right, so as I was saying, just released Sketch Toon Model Pack version 2. Ni. What else do I know? French is deux. Un deux. Yeah, that's the extent of my foreign language skills. So let's just kind of go through, and I'll be taking any questions anyone out there has. So basically, you get 33 models. So for $30, and actually it's on sale now for 30% off. So you can get all this stuff for $21 if you use the offer code. I'll just type it in the chat room. 30 off Toon. So just kind of use that. So it's 30 OFFTOON, 30 off Toon. You can get the Sketch Toon Model Pack version 2 and 1. So both packs that are out right now, you can get them for $21. So that's way less than $1 a model. So you get all these cool little models, and some of these are animated, and just kind of want to go through some of the ones that I think are kind of fun to play around with. So you can check out all this image with all the stuff in it. So we got the airplane, a book, and I'm just going to go through some of this stuff right now. So what you're going to do is you'll when you buy it, you download a lib4d file, and you just place that in your little browser window thing, browser library in your Cinema 4D folder. And then you'll just kind of open it up in your content browser. And first things first is you're going to have this Sketch Toon Studio, which if you just double click it, it's just a scene file that, number one, is going to have the render settings kind of set up how I like to optimally render things out of Cinema when I'm going for this kind of 2D look. And you'll see that, number one, the anti-aliasing is going to be bumped up. So you want those nice, crisp edges when you're working with this kind of stuff. You don't want this. So you can see that the minimum level is up to 2. So that's up from the default of 1. And then this max level, usually it's at 4. And I crank that to like 8. And one of the big things is the filter that you're using, because depending on the filter, that kind of shows you how, or kind of adjusts how sharp or how crisp your edges are. So typically, a lot of people use Gauss or animation, and you'll see that. Hopefully, I highly doubt you guys will see this over the cast, but basically what animation does is it kind of makes all of your edges very soft. Not very soft, but noticeably soft. And for animation stuff, you kind of want that. You really don't want sharp edges in animation, because sometimes that just doesn't look well on TV or when things are moving and stuff like that. But when you're going for 2D style stuff, you want those nice, sharp, almost like raster looking edges. So what I like to use is this sync. And again, I can visually see it, that it sharpens the edges here, but you guys over the stream probably won't really notice. But trust me, just make something and then toggle between the animation and the sync. And I got the interactive render region going, which is how I really like to work. So that is Option R. I don't know if that's Command R on Windows, but I'm on the Mac. But that's how you can get it into interactive render region. And you'll notice that it's kind of important to be in interactive render region when you're working with cel shaded materials. So I got my red, green, and blue. These all have Cel Shader shaders on top of them. And you notice when you're looking at this in the work mode, or whatever the software preview, whatever this normal render is, you'll see just kind of like a dash, or this like kind of gradient without any interpolation going through it, and that's really not a good representation of how this is going to look when you render it out. So I always like to render with the interactive render region on. Then you can adjust your knots, and if you're not familiar with Cel Shader, you want to check out my site. I even made a playlist on YouTube that is basically all the collection of all of my Sketch Toon tutorials. And yeah, check that out. Start there. I'm probably gonna do more. I'm probably gonna get some more Sketch Toon tutorials out. So if you guys have any more ideas of what you'd like to see, if you've already watched all my tutorials and there's something that you didn't quite understand, or you just want me to dive in deeper into, just let me know. But I got a lot on my site. So yeah, so this is the if I zoom in on this, this is the Sketch Toon Studio. So basically what this whole preset scene file does for you is it has Sketch Toon already enabled. It's got the background and object shading set to off automatically. And what this does is allows you to go into the models here. So these are all the models that are included in Sketch Toon Model Pack version 2. So let's say, let's go to our paintbrushes here. So basically this whole scene, this Sketch Toon Studio is set up to just go ahead and delete these guys. It says replace me, and you still have your floor elements, your background, your light, your infinite light, and I can just drag and drop these paintbrushes into my scene, and I can then either use this camera that's already in my scene or use this camera that's actually in the scene file, is probably what you want to do. I'll just delete all that stuff. And let me just crank down. So when this is good anti-aliasing settings when you want to render, but when you're just trying to work in your viewport, I just set them a little bit lower just so it renders faster with the interactive render region. All right, so here's our paintbrushes here. And because we brought them into our Sketch Toon Studio, we already have these line types active, and you'll notice what happens if I turn off Sketch Toon. We don't have those outlines here, so we're not seeing what the image is in the content browser here. So you can see that in the content browser we have these really nice outlines. So Sketch Toon Studio, you bring in your models in here. It already has Sketch Toon already enabled and all set to go with the presets. So I have all my sketch style tags on each of these objects here. Excuse me, man. And then you just move these guys around. You can animate them to your heart's content and have a lot of fun playing around with that. Alternatively, so that's with using the actual so this Sketch Toon Studio. Alternatively, we can just go into the models. We can say, let's grab the car model here. You know, drag and drop that into the scene, and then just look through this camera. And already we have a background, we have a light. It's all in that actual file that I dragged in. So I want to go to interactive render region here. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Crank up the quality there. And then there we go. So this particular model won't have lines active when you bring it into a new scene. To actually activate that, I'm just going to go to Effect, Sketch and Toon, and immediately I'm going to go into my shading. I don't want the background color because we already have a background in here, and I don't want any kind of shading. I'm just going to use all the Cel Shader materials that are already applied to it. You'll notice that when we go from the quantized shading to just the off, we're actually seeing our Cel Shader materials unquantized, and yeah, so there we go. So then you can actually start, so you can see there's already some Sketch and Toon materials applied here. We can go ahead and maybe apply one to the whole entire car, maybe just do the outline for that. And since we want all of the objects in our scene to, or all the objects in our project to be factored in on the outline, we'll do that. And the wheels, and copy that to the car. I have to copy this to all these guys. Outline. It's all. So there you go. This is basically how you'll work if you just want to create a brand new scheme or a brand new scene. And just kind of play around with whatever sketch styles you want. You can change, you can go into the car colors and kind of change the colors here, make it a green car. And we also have this kind of accent part of the car on the top there. You just kind of have fun and play around with all of this stuff. You can see that in some of these, this is kind of like a stylized thing. I also have a spot shader on here that's kind of adding that grunge in the diffusion channel. You can see if I turn that off, so the diffusion spot shader stuff, we get rid of all the grunge. Maybe you just want something a little bit more flat and simplified shading without the grunge there. So let's close that up. Let's actually go into some of the fun ones here. So for a lot of these, you just have the models, but some of these models have animation as well. So I'm going to double click the book. Got my book here. Gonna look through my camera, and you're gonna notice that this book has a pose morph tag on it. And if I hit play, we just had our book open and close, and that's all driven by our pose morph tag. So number one, not only do you get all of these fun little models that you can play with, some of them are animated, and all of them, if you really like, if you've been following my stuff and you really enjoy all of my Sketch and Toon stuff, and you always wonder like how do you set this stuff up, and try to get inside my head, this is kind of like a perfect way to do that, is by seeing and actually seeing my project files, digging through them, seeing what I'm doing here, how I'm getting these guys to work, and especially the ones that are animated. So you can see how I used the pose morph tag to kind of open this up, and then kind of see like, all right, well then I have this bend animating as well, because when it closes, you don't want that bend anymore, so you want that to kind of straighten out. So that's what that bend is all about. So that's the book there. Let's see, what else do we got here? Some other fun animated elements. So here's a forklift. Open this guy up. Let's look through the camera. And again, this is animated as well. So you can see that it's rolling back. And right now the camera is actually inside our forklift that's animated. So we'll take it out. And you can see that our forklift is animating. If I stretch out the timeline here, you can see that once it starts rolling, this will try to lift up the crate, which is kind of fun. So you can see how I did that with some bend deformers and stuff like that. Really fun stuff. And then let's go into interactive render region here, so you can see that all nice and pretty and rendered with its with the Cel Shader going on. Close out of that. Let's see. And here's another one. Let's do microphone. So this is my microphone I'm actually talking through right now. It's the Sketch and Toon version. Ain't that special? So this has some animation as well. So it actually has a little bit of like IK movement here that you can see. Here's my goal. So if I move around my goal, you can see that this is actually all nice and rigged. And I also have a little bit of spline dynamics going on as well that's hooked to the actual object. So you can see the spline, we have some clamp, constraint tags. So this is all stuff that's animated. You can rip it apart, see how I did these things, see how I use spline dynamics to kind of have the this cord kind of follow along and attach to this part of the object, and just kind of break it down and then use it for, stuff that you guys are working on yourself. You can use all these objects in your little 2D style animations, or just texture them as you normally would, and with diffuse textures and stuff like that. So let's see, what else do we got? We got a shopping bag that is animated as well, and we have this the pose morph tag. So if you actually want to unfold this, you can actually animate these guys, these little sides folding. So let's set some keyframes. Move this down. Whoop, whoop. And then whee. So that's fun, and then again, you can figure out how I did that, using the pose morph and using some bends on each faces of the bag here. So a lot of fun to just use these elements and to also learn something by just kind of breaking down and looking through all of my project files that are included in this new pack. We got Link's sword from Legend of Zelda. Who doesn't like that? Let's go into our camera, and we'll just hit play, and we just have it, kind of animating here. Whooshing. And then hit the interactive render region here. And again, since I brought this into a brand new file, you'll see there's no outlines. So again, all I have to do is to enable outlines. I'm going to go into Sketch and Toon, and there we go. And we can change the, we can turn the shading off and just use the Sketch and Toon cell shading here. And we can leave the color here and just kind of change the background color to whatever we want. Go yellow, whatever tickles you. So there you go. And so that's going to actually animate all the sketch and sketch style tags that are already applied to this object. And yeah, so we got linked sword. If you guys want to actually see anything in depth, let me know. Oh, here's a thumbs up. This one was fun to animate. So I just brought this into the scene. I'll just delete our sword, look through our camera here, and you can see that even this guy animates. Bring out the timeline here, hit play. Whoop. Again, I got my camera in this mess, so let's just hit play. Whoa. Like my camera's all out of control. Thumbs up will come. Zero all this stuff out. There we go. So the thumb's gonna come from the bottom. Cha-ching. Thumbs up, bro. Yeah. So this was fun to make. You know, this isn't rigged at all. If you see, if you break down my files, you'll see that you can get really creative with just deformers. So you can see that I animate this little thumbs up with just a couple of bend deformers here, which is, you know, super simple. Don't need to know any rigging at all. And again, this is stuff that you can kind of tear apart and learn how I achieved this by just digging through my file here. So let's close out of that. Let's go into let's go to Suitcase. This is another one that is fully animated here. Let's do the camera and hit play. So you'll see that the suitcase looks like it's about to explode. And opens up. Ain't that fun? So this is all again with pose morph and with squash and stretch, some spherify. So again, all deformers that can really add a lot of life to your animation. So again, this is all stuff that you can figure out, tear it apart, find out how I use the squash and stretch, find out how I use the spherify to kind of give this object some life here. Allison, these do work in Lite. So the problem with Lite is that it does not support Sketch and Toon. But I do have a tutorial, and I'll actually, you know what, maybe a little later in this live cast, I'll do a little mini tutorial to show how you can get, how you can kind of fake the Cel Shader to work in C4D Lite. Maybe I'll do that a little bit later on. But all these models will open up in Cinema 4D Lite. Again, you're limited by what's supported in C4D Lite. You can use the models, but some of the animation will not be intact due to the fact that Cinema 4D Lite does not have things like spherize or squash and stretch deformers or pose morph tags and all that kind of stuff. But you know, there are a lot of these models that will work in C4D Lite. I've tried to build these so that they are made of a lot of primitive primitive objects or objects that are supported by C4D Lite, but it won't be fully supported. So some of these models, like maybe this microphone here. So like the microphone, C4D Lite doesn't have spline dynamics. It doesn't have clamp tags. So that means that you'll get the model, but in C4D Lite it won't animate. So you would, number one, have to just kind of animate this by hand because you won't have an IK tag, right? You'd have to just kind of animate this the old-fashioned way and just kind of rotate some stuff. And this is more like FK than IK, forward kinematics. But yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. But a lot of this stuff, is just geometry, and you can still animate them the old-fashioned way, even if some of the stuff is not supported in C4D Lite. And I also have a tutorial on my site on how to create Sketch Toon Sketch Toon style outlines. Let me just pull that up. Tutorials. So I think what I'm gonna do in the future is just do a whole set of tutorials on how to kind of fake Cinema 4D Sketch Toon without Sketch Toon. So to be able to do it in C4D Lite. This is flipping again. Boop. So right here, if you go to the tutorials page, you go all the way down. So you go right here, creating line art animations using C4D Lite, After Effects, and Cineware. Click on that. It's got a little After Effects symbol in the bottom. And this is a tutorial on my little workflow for getting outlines. Now, as far as shading, shading's a whole nother thing. And I think after I'm done kind of just going through all this stuff, I can go through how to kind of fake the Cel Shader. But yeah, the default outlines are always a bit rugged. Yes, GM3, that is correct. To get around that, let me just bring in a model here. Let's do some cheese. Getting hungry here. Let's bring in some cheese. We'll get rid of the microphone. And we'll look through the camera here. So you're talking about when you bring in, and I believe Cinema has actually fixed this in R17, is where, let me go into interactive render region here. Got my cheese. Crank up the quality there. So I got my cheese. And you want to, let's just go ahead and create a new sketch material. So in previous versions of C4D, I believe, and again, I believe this has been fixed in R17, is you would go, let me just apply this sketch material on here, and you're talking about this stuff right here, all these little kind of like splotches, almost like ink bleeds and stuff like that. So that is just the default. Let me actually crank up the thickness so you can really get a sense of what's going on here. I think this is what you're talking about, GM3, is these splotches, right? So that is just, so by default, and this is different in R17 because the default's different. They changed it. And you'll see why, because by default this is what happened. You basically have Sketch Toon just connecting dots between polygons, or connecting edges, polygon edges like this, and creating these splotches. Now, the reason why this is because it renders much faster, but it looks like crap, right? So it looks like crap. I don't care that it renders fast. It doesn't look very good. So what you would have to do is go into strokes and actually enable strokes. And that smooths everything out. And then usually I turn off filter strokes. I don't really need filter strokes on that much. But this smooths everything out by enabling the strokes. Now, why this wasn't the default from the get-go, I don't know. Probably because it was so render intensive, but maybe that's not so... Oh, not render intensive, but renders slower than the other option. But in R17, this is on by default. So I'm in R17 right now. I'm going to go to new material. Actually, not new material. Go to new. What am I doing? Where is it? Sketch material. You can see that by default, strokes are already enabled. So previously, in previous versions like R16 and below, this would be off. And you can even see in the preview window here, if I open this window, make this big, you can really see what I'm talking about with this splotchy stuff going on. And that's all fixed because now strokes is enabled by default, and folks like GM3 don't have to worry about crappy lines without strokes being enabled. So hopefully that answers your question. Awesome, Paul. Glad you're enjoying it so far. All right, so let's close this and open up the... Play around with some more things here. So we got a computer monitor. We got my little iMac monitor. Look through my camera. Interactive render region. This stuff will come in handy for, a lot of infographic stuff, all that kind of good stuff. Close out of that. I got some buildings. Bring a few buildings in here. Move this building over here. This building here. This building's kind of big. It's a big building. So you can actually just kind of double up on these if you'd like. Just kind of put them all together like Legos. Bring this guy over here. So again, also useful for like infographic stuff. I think I'm gonna eventually build more building kind of stuff and like houses and stuff like that, because I think that kind of stuff can be fairly useful for people. So those are my buildings. Get rid of all the floors and lights except just one. Interactive render region. There we go. There's our little buildings. Fun. And my favorite is a little Game Boy. I like my little Game Boy. So, this was fun to make, and actually this, I believe I made this inside of C4D Lite and got some fun shading in C4D Lite too. So I think, let's see. Yeah, so just roll through what all the stuff here. We got airplane, book, buildings, a can, soda can, a cargo ship, little waves. We got this dude, little figure. Already showed you guys there's a forklift. Got a stylized helicopter, some ice cream, an iPhone, milk. Milk was a bad choice. Some paintbrushes, cool little palm tree, got a pencil, rolling pin because it's time to make some cookies over the holidays. Got another cartoonish kind of plane, got the shopping bag, got a little teddy bear, the suitcase, the thumbs up bro, tricycle, got a trophy, little Wacom pen, some wine for all you lushes out there, and then we got our Xbox controller and actual Xbox console. This pack is not free. These are the two paid packs. So you're talking about the the free Sketch Toon pack. So that was just a one thing. You can get it on the site still. These are paid packs, and they're on sale. Both of them are on sale. Version 1 and version 2 are on sale for $21 for this week only. So use offer code 30OFFTOON, and that'll get you. It would be originally $30, but you're saving 30%. You're saving $9 each off of both of them. So, dang it. So, go to my site, go to the store, and we got the pack 1 and 2. If you do want to get the free one, there's a free pack. If you go to my freebies section, it's right here. So Sketch Toon Model Free Pack 1. Hope to do another free pack soon. But these are all the free stuff you can get in the free pack. Yay! But yeah, this stuff is paid for because I think the free pack only has like 8-10 models. Each of these has 33 models, and some of them are fully animated. So here's the model pack 1 that comes with all this fun stuff: some sushi, skateboard, set tape, all these things, and you can read more about it on the store. And then we got the second version that just came out today and has all this fun stuff. So again, this is $21 for this week only. So use that offer code, the 30OFFTOON, 30OFFTOON, and grab it for cheaps. We got the computer monitor, the Xbox, the Game Boy, got the car, tricycle, the book that's fully animated. You can open and close it. The suitcase. You can pack all your stuff in it. Got the iPhone and everything else that I kind of went over here. That is the Sketch Toon Model Pack. Be sure to, when you go to buy, use that 30OFFTOON. And so the 30OFFTOON is good for both versions. So we can do the 30OFFTOON, do the update, the cart, and you saved yourself $18, my friend. So there you go. But if I modeled the car, Paul, you wouldn't want to actually get it now. I'm hoping to do more modeling live casts in the future. Number one, I got to get better at it, and number two, seems like a lot of people want to learn as well, and maybe I could help. So that is Sketch Toon Model Pack version 2. Again, this is all the stuff you get. Got 33 models, so that's less than $1 a model because there are 33 total. A lot of these are animated. Get the Game Boy. Beep boop 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 boop. Yeah. So, does anyone have any questions? I think what I'm going to do now is, what would you guys like? I don't know if the stream good? I'm getting a yellow stream. So hopefully no one's having any issues watching this. Do I like syncing animations to music? Yeah, actually, but to be honest, the only time I really do that is when I cut my reel or something, because typically I don't need to do that very much. Usually if I'm working on something, they have an audio guy that's much better than me. But yeah. Oh, Allison, yeah, you can use it for wherever you want. I should probably add that to the page that it's royalty free. All these models are royalty free. Just don't go turn around and sell them yourself. Don't be a jerk. And yeah, no, yeah. So use it for whatever you want. Use it for commercial work, all that good stuff. Yep, you're good to do whatever you want with it. Just don't turn around and sell it. So I think what I want to do now, and for the people that actually came out to watch this cast, I think what I'm going to try is a little live tutorial recording. So I had an idea for a tutorial, and we'll use my little Game Boy here. Yeah, how's that sound? Everyone want to watch a tutorial, live tutorial? This is going to be how to get Cel Shader shading without Sketch Toon or Cel Shader. So basically how you can do this kind of cel shaded look with the cel shading using all things you can do in C4D Lite. So let me just set up here. Let me just shrink the window here. Okay. Change the output. 1280, 720. Never like working anything otherwise. All right. Let me just get things on my end here, and we're streaming, and get rid of the anti-aliasing there. Do the sync. The stream's okay, guys, right? Cool. And let's get started. Okay, let me just record here. All right, so today I'm going to be going over how you can get cel shading. You can fake cel shading in Cinema 4D Lite, or really any version of Cinema 4D. So let me just kind of break down how you would typically get 2D shading using the Cel Shader. And I have a tutorial about cel shading, all about cel shading, that you can check out on my website. I'll post it in the tutorial description. But basically, how I got all the shading on this is by using cel shaders. And what you do is you would load up a cel shader in the luminance channel, and then you just can add different colors in your gradient knot here. So this is basically just a gradient set to no interpolation. And what you can do with the cel shader is be able to use either the camera as the light source or lights in your scene as the light source. So right now I have my infinite light in my scene, and that's casting a hard light on my object, on my little Game Boy here. And no shadows right now, but I can turn on shadows. So I'll turn on some hard shadows here, and you can see we got a little shadow popping up here. And that is because I actually have shadows enabled on all of my materials here as well. So all of these materials, all of these different colors, each have their own cel shader with their own color knots in here, and they're all driven by the light in the scene. So again, if I change the angle of the light, it's going to change the shading. So now the front face is kind of dark. If I want to lighten that up a bit, I'll just kind of angle the light here to make it look the way that you want it to. And again, you can actually go and change the mapping of how your knots are mapped on an object. So I can go into my actual main extrude here. That's the body of the Game Boy. So let's do Game Boy body. And I can just adjust these knots, and that'll change how they're mapped along the object. So if I bring these down, or just the specular here, I'm on the right thing, right? Yeah, there we go. Actually change the color. Do I have... Am I in the right material? I'm not in the right dang material. There we go. I need to be in this one. All right, so first know what material you're working with here. Okay, so now I'm on the right material, and I'm gonna adjust these gradient knots, and you can see that I am adjusting where these colors are mapped on this object. So since I brought my white chip all the way over to the left, you can see that that's actually mapping all of my white over to a lot more of my object. And you can see the other bits of the gradient right down there at the bottom. And again, this is all driven by the light direction, or how the light is kind of adjusting the diffuse, or how the diffuse light is being cast on this object. So if that's too much white, I can bring this knot all the way over, and we'll actually get more of this lighter blue. And I can move this kind of darker teal kind of thing going on, and then get more of this darker color by moving this darker knot to the right. And again, I can just kind of really fine tune. So this is a lot of fun in fine tuning how your object looks. Now, if I wanted to, I could have this kind of thing going on, and since this is an extrude, I could simply say, get this light gray, apply it to the extrude, and then just type in C1 or cap 1, and that'll apply that gray material to just that front face of my Game Boy. And if I increase the brightness, you can see what's going on. I'm just controlling the front face here. So again, this is all done with the Cel Shader. Now, why I kind of walked you through how the Cel Shader works is because it's important to realize to understand how you can kind of fake this with built-in tools in C4D Lite or anything else. So what I'm going to do is let's delete the textures on the Game Boy body here, and even the buttons. So let's delete that. So we're going to recreate these materials and recreate how the Cel Shader works with something else. So I'm going to double click, going to go into the material. So just like the Cel Shader works, we're going to go into our luminance, and we're going to do stuff in the luminance that'll try to fake and replicate the Cel Shader. Now, remember the Cel Shader used a gradient, and we used knots to move how these colors were mapped along the object. Now, can you guess of anything else that kind of works similarly? Similarly? I don't know. I can't hear you guys. But what we're going to use is the Fresnel shader. Now, what the Fresnel shader does, you can see in the little preview here, is that it is based off of what part of your object's facing the camera, or how your polygons are facing the camera. So typically, you'd use your Fresnel inside of your reflectance channel, right? So it gives a more natural reflection. You got some reflection fall off and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and let's just rename this Fresnel. Boom. And let's apply this. Let's apply this to our Game Boy body here. And you'll notice that unlike the Cel Shader, we don't have an option to have a light as the light source. Basically, it's going to be using our camera as the light source. And you can see that happening right now is our light, whatever polygons are more facing forward, facing towards our camera, is getting this darker color. And you can tell just by this little spherical preview, whatever polygons are facing the camera more, it's getting a darker color, and whatever's more facing away the camera, so these polygons here, they're getting lighter. Now, if we go into our Fresnel, the first thing we want to do is we also have this gradient thing with this gradient knots and all that stuff. So just like the Cel Shader, So kind of think of this as your diffuse in the Cel Shader. Now what I'm going to do is first, this is backwards. So we don't want dark stuff close. We want the light stuff close because again, we want to try to create the camera as a light source. I'm just going to right click, invert the knots. Now you can see that whatever's facing the camera is now getting the lighter shade, and whatever polygons are facing away from the camera is getting dark. So you can already kind of see what's going on here using the camera as the light source. So right now we have very soft diffuse. So to fix that, we're going to go into interpolation. Now remember, the Cel Shader had no interpolation, and that's exactly what we're going to do for this. Now I'm going to bring this white knot all the way to the left here, and you're going to see what happens. We're now mapping these colors using the Fresnel shader. So all based on what polygons are facing the camera and which aren't. So now we can actually go in here and recreate those little color chips that we have down here. So this kind of gradient shades. So let's get a little light blue, and let's change this to some kind of teal, like that maybe. And change this black to some darker teal. Maybe make this a little bit lighter, a little bluer perhaps. There we go. So now we're kind of recreating that shading. Now we can adjust these knots just like we adjusted the knots in the Cel Shader. And again, that's changing how these colors, how this gradient is mapped along this 3D object. But again, this is all based on your camera. So your camera is the light source. So if you move your camera around, it's going to change how that Fresnel works. So that's kind of something you got to keep in mind there. So again, just like how I showed you with the Cel Shader, if you want more fine-tuned control, so say I want these darker edges, maybe have an even darker knot over on this side here. So we're just getting a little bit there. Kind of adjust this around, and say you want to have more fine control over that front face. So again, we're going to just create this new material that's just flat shading. So we're just going to have white here. Let's maybe give it 110. And again, since this is a extrude object, and again, you have extrudes in C4D Lite, you can just apply this flat color to just the face of the extrude by putting in C1 as the selection. And if we turn it around to the back, you can see that we also need to apply a second material. So we'll just duplicate that first material, and we'll change this from C1 to C2, and that'll color, or that'll shade our back cap on our extrude. You can see how this is using the Fresnel shader. We're kind of recreating how the Cel Shader works, only using the camera as the light source. So this is just a cool way to kind of hack what's available for you to you in C4D Lite, and kind of recreate this Cel Shader kind of look. So let's go ahead and let's do the same thing with our buttons. So let's just duplicate this red. We'll clear out the Cel Shader. And again, just like a workflow that I use for the Cel Shader, what you can do is we'll grab a Fresnel, we'll invert this because we want the lighter shades to be facing the camera. Let's actually apply this to the buttons. And again, you can see how our Fresnel is already working with this nice smooth diffuse. We're going to go into our gradient, turn it to none, bring over this knot. Let's maybe give this a lighter gray. So what we're going to be doing is creating a just a grayscale gradient here. So grayscale gradient knots, and that's looking nice. And what I'm going to do is, typically you would just have the blending mode set to normal. So I actually had it on multiply already, but what you do is by using a grayscale knot in your Fresnel, you can do a blending mode and multiply it on whatever colors in your chip right here. So that means you can then just adjust the color and have your Fresnel shading already intact. So what that means is I can then duplicate this. Let's say we'll make this orange. And then instead of having to create new material and then adjusting all the individual colors of this gradient to be something more orange, you don't have to do that. Since this is grayscale, we'll just multiply that and just change this color here to something more orangey, like so. And then we can apply this to, say, the speaker guys here. So the speaker holes, and there we go. And since that really doesn't have any geometry, that doesn't work very well showing shading. So let's actually apply it to the gamepad. There we go. And yeah, there we go. So we'll turn off create single object, and that's got some Fresnel rounding. And you can see that by using the Fresnel shader, set to blending mode multiply, we can then go ahead and just change this to our little heart's content, and we still have that Fresnel shading all intact. Now, as far as baking the Fresnel look or anything like that, so it's locked to a certain camera, unfortunately, you can't do that. You can't really change that, because no matter what camera you're looking through, whether it's default or no camera at all, that Fresnel is always going to be determined, or how it's always going to be determined and locked to your viewing angle in your scene. So that is the limitation of this method. But again, since C4D Lite is free, this is kind of a cool little hack to create cel shading using the Fresnel shader inside of C4D Lite without Sketch and Toon. And again, that's just some of the limitations that you have there. But you know, if you have this camera locked, and let's actually move this out. And again, this is the light in the scene, but our light's actually not doing anything. So I can actually delete that. And again, just kind of rotate this around, and you'll notice that when we're rotating, it's changing the Fresnel. And you can see as it turns here, getting a little brighter, just because those polygons are facing our camera more. And the one thing you'll know is that it will be a sudden shift from one color to the other. One way I like to get around that a little bit, so you don't have a sudden switch from dark. So like right here, you have a sudden shift from light to gray. And this is going to be a sudden shift, just kind of like that. It's just going to pop just like that. So what I like to do to kind of get around that is we're still gonna want this kind of sharp knots. But what I'm gonna do is just duplicate and just create new knots right next to one another. And what I'm gonna do is go from no interpolation to something like not smooth. Let's do exponential up. And I'll move this knot right over here. And what's going to happen, I actually did this the wrong way. And what's going to happen is you just butt up these knots so that there's a little bit of gradation, but not a ton. So visibly, you won't see, it'll still look sharp to the eye, but there'll still be that little slight gradient. So what happens when you do that is, instead of that sudden shift, it'll be more of a gradated kind of transition. So it's more like a fade and less like a pop. And again, you can change this by adjusting these knots here. You can see it'll be a little smoother shift. You don't want to have too much of a gradient between these, or you'll really get to see that there's actual gradient shading. So you can see right down here, we're losing that whole illusion of really sharp 2D colors. So you don't want to get too carried away with that. Just a little hack I like to use for that. And let's see, is there anything sharper? Maybe a linear. Maybe linear works a little bit better. But that's, you know, that's something that kind of helps that little shift a little bit. So that is how you can hack C4D Lite, hack the Fresnel shader to get Sketch and Toon Cel Shader type effects with the Fresnel shader, and by using the angle of your camera view. All right. Stopped recording. All right. Was that cool? Live tutorial. Yay. Anyone else use that trick before? Wonder if I can find it. I have a whole not iPhone, Game Boy that I created completely in C4D Lite. Let me try to find it here. Boop, 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 boom. Game Boy. So this was created all in C4D Lite. Nope, that's not it. This is my AE World presentation that I did last couple weeks ago. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there we go. Sketch Toon and C4D Lite. Actually, let's do this. Yeah, so this was shaded in C4D Lite using the Cel Shader. So you can see the Fresnel. Increase the quality here. You can get this cool 2D shading using the Cel Shader. So that's pretty fun. So cool. So to recap, Sketch Toon Model Pack version 2. Get it. Get it while it's cheap. Go to the store. Go to the store. Both Sketch Toon Model Pack version 1 and version 2 is on sale for 30% off. Use the offer code 30OFFTOON and wow. And grab them. Grab both of them. If you don't have both of them, go get them. You can get both of them for 21 bucks each instead of the 30 bucks that it normally costs. And you get all this good stuff. All these models. Some of them are animated. All these guys. We got the version 1. Get all this stuff. All these models. And actually, you know what? I think my whole entire store is 30% off as well. So if you go to the store and main store here, just click on store, all of my products, so all 5 of them, you can get 30% off everything in the eyedesyn store if you use, I think it's offer code Black Friday 30, and that's 30% off anything in the store. Anything in the eyedesyn store. Actually, you know what? Just for you guys, I lied. It's not 30% off. It's 35. Use code Black Friday 35 to get 35% off of everything in the store. So that's an even better deal than the one that I've been advertising. So go to the store. You can get the Sketch Toon model packs for 35% off instead of just 30 by using that offer code Black Friday 35. And I think that code, let me just check really quick. I think that code, let's see, just double check here. That code might be, yeah, that code will be good for the next few days. So 35% off everything in the store, including the new Sketch Toon pack. So there you go. Just for you guys. So the store is eyedesyn.com/store, 35% off everything, including the Sketch and Toon Pack. So the guys here, all you people in here watching this, you get an extra 5% off because that's how much I love you. Because you guys are the guys that will sit through my ramblings on this live cast. So take that, enjoy. Hopefully you enjoyed the live stream here. And again, you guys, unless you missed it, I did a live tutorial recording. If you missed it, I'll post it tomorrow. I'm going to edit it, make it all nice and pretty, and post it up online tomorrow that was the whole using the Cel Shader as to replace the Cel Shader to kind of hack it a little bit. So yeah, thanks everyone who came out. I'm going to go get to work on editing that tutorial, that live tutorial, and posting it up. Look forward tomorrow. And thanks for everyone who joined me. Really appreciate it. Be sure again to grab anything in the store for 35% off. Black Friday 35. Use that code. And yeah. Hope everyone had a good holiday and almost to December, almost done with the year. Wrap up all your projects, do fun stuff. Yeah, all right. That's it from me. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys in the next live cast. Bye everybody.